of buffoonery. I can assure you that. And we have even more buffoonery. Now, I know what some of y'all are thinking. Y'all are thinking, John, why is we pulling the game back up from yesterday? I'm finna show you in a brief second why we're replaying this last couple seconds from yesterday's game. Let's roll it.
One of the best three-ball shooters in the league out on the floor, and Sophie Cunningham. They'll have
Now,
reaction continues to build following recent comments from head coach Stephanie White, and the response has not been favorable. Rather than offering support toward Caitlin Clark, White instead chose to publicly back Alyssa Thomas, a player she previously coached, alongside Dana Bonner. The message she delivered came across clearly. She essentially communicated that fans of Clark aren't wanted within the league. Based on the media coverage surrounding the situation, a noticeable pattern emerged. Certain major outlets barely touched the story, while others ran heavily with it.
this was the conclusion of the first half of yesterday's game. Now, I missed this because I did not watch the game. So had I watched the game, I would have caught this sooner, but I did not watch this specific game. Now, watch. Listen to the announcer. I want you guys to listen.
So the call here initially, no good, but I think they're going to review it.
Now, this is Caitlin Clark talking to the referees. Guess who
Much of Clark's fan base appears to come from the Midwest and Southern regions, and a significant portion likely leans more conservative, drawn specifically to watching Clark, and to a lesser degree Sophie Cunningham play. White's remarks suggested that continued viewership depends on aligning with the league's social causes and activism, implying that anyone unwilling to support that agenda isn't welcome as a viewer. That stance suggests activism has taken priority over actual revenue and audience numbers for the organization. The inability to separate personal loyalty to a former player from professional responsibility toward a current one has drawn heavy criticism.
Caitlin Clark talking to the referees. Guess who immediately comes behind Caitlin? Comes behind her. Don't this look like a familiar scene? This looked very familiar. This is Briann January, the coach that's always in the drama when it's involving Caitlin Clark. This is exactly who this is. Come out of the clear blue sky. Poof, she appears. Briann January.
Many viewers have pushed back strongly against the idea of identity politics being tied to sports viewership, arguing fans simply want to watch competition, nothing more, and shouldn't be labeled unfairly for objecting to political messaging. Despite ratings tripling recently, a large share of that new audience reportedly has no interest in the social messaging being pushed alongside the games. During a press conference, White addressed the incident involving Alyssa Thomas directly, calling the surrounding toxicity, including racist and homophobic rhetoric, completely unacceptable, while noting she believes most of that hostility originates from online spaces rather than from actual Fever or League fans. Reaction to this framing was swift, with many pointing out that new viewers are watching specifically because of Clark, openly supporting whichever team she plays for as long as it makes sound competitive decisions, while showing little interest in the accompanying social messaging.
Briann January is right there. Now watch the rest of the clip. Now, this is the play right here. Let me minimize this so we don't get striked by YouTube. So let's play this real quick.
This go clock,
shot is
light
under
horn.
to see if the score was before reading of zeros.
It is close.
Man, that's
watching Kelsey Mitchell in that first half. It's worth the.
Commenters argued that now that they're tuning in, they've earned the right to voice opinions about what they're seeing, regardless of whether league officials appreciate that feedback. Many credited this new wave of general sports fans, people who also follow football, college sports, and baseball, as the actual driver behind the league's rising numbers, specifically because of Clark and Cunningham explicitly distancing themselves from interest in other teams like the Liberty. White also spoke about people using the league and its players to push divisive agendas, calling that unacceptable, while stressing continued efforts toward protecting and supporting players across the league, acknowledging criticism naturally comes with competition and the complicated relationships fans develop with teams and players. She emphasized that being respectful isn't difficult, and suggested that anyone engaging in hateful behavior online shouldn't identify as a genuine fan of the league, describing the organization's core values as inclusiveness, competitive spirit, and the advancement of women and marginalized communities.
Mitchell in that first half.
It's worth the price of entertainment. It's pure entertainment and skill. Third in the league in scoring.
So that was the scene that happened at the conclusion of the first half. Now, many fans online did notice this. One being White Gold. White Gold stated this on Twitter during the game. He stated, bro, why is Briann January shadowing Caitlin Clark? She's not even playing. Just because she's having a convo with the refs about Lexi Bucket.
Reaction to that messaging was largely dismissive, with many saying they simply want to watch competitive basketball without additional social commentary attached, expressing frustration at feeling lectured, and insisting they have no intention of disengaging despite the rhetoric. Several pointed out that if that messaging genuinely mattered to longtime viewers, engagement would have already been high over the past 2 decades, arguing instead that new fans are again being told their support isn't wanted unless it comes with full ideological agreement. Commentary continued describing the organization as committed to maintaining high standards, staying ahead of shifting social norms, and supporting one another collectively across players, coaching staff, and support personnel.
About Lexi Bucket, Jesus Christ. Somebody else said, P.O. January, watch on Caitlin. You will be sitting again on some Trump up charges. Somebody else said, I legit despise her. It's like an abusive relationship controlling. It's so weird. I refuse to watch them this season without CC, scummy coaching staff, and organization. Somebody else stated, they're so lame. They all want to play hard.
That phrasing drew mockery from some viewers questioning why competitive sports commentary had shifted toward broader social themes. White reiterated a focus on uplifting rather than demanding or continuing divisive narratives, though pushback continued regarding growing fan expectations for accountability. Reaction framed the coach's comments as essentially telling new fans they weren't wanted, sparking further political debate given the framing used.
Somebody else stated, they're so lame. They all want to play hard when Caitlin isn't playing, but then absolutely play like ish the bed when she plays because they know she'll get all the blame anyway. Somebody else said, I don't like Briann January. I don't either. Hate that lady January with a passion. Seems to me there's a bunch of malpractice going on. But whatever the case may be, bruh, there is a collage.
Some pointed to differing media narratives, noting certain morning programs focused sympathetically on Alyssa Thomas's situation, while other outlets focused on defending Clark, suggesting the coverage split largely along political lines. Commenters acknowledged Clark's personal politics may not always align with certain audiences, but noted she rarely inserts political commentary into her public appearances compared to others associated with the league, framing the criticism toward White as predictable, given how her comments were phrased. Further discussion raised concerns about inconsistent treatment across the roster, specifically questioning why the coaching staff hadn't publicly addressed the ongoing online harassment, real-world threats, and stalking incidents directed at Sophie Cunningham, describing it as a clear example of selective attention within the organization.
There is a collage that we are going to put together involving none other than Briann January. So, these are some of the posts from Briann January. Now, this is from May. This was back in May, right? Two-time runner-up Caitlin Clark and WNBA assistant coach Briann January shares a quick moment on the bench. We all remember this, right? Oh, yes, we all remember this, right? Look.
Many argued Cunningham has faced significant racially charged hostility without much public acknowledgement or complaint from her, framing the league's broader cultural messaging as inconsistent with how it handles protecting all of its players equally. Criticism toward the coaching staff and front office intensified, with some calling for Clark and Cunningham to be traded to organizations perceived as more supportive, while acknowledging most franchises across the league share similar cultural priorities.
For tonight's game, you've got ESPN
who decided to wrap their loving arms around nothing but women's sports on Sundays as they let Major League Baseball walk out the door for Sunday nights, and they decided we're going to put the aces and
Some expressed frustration that reporters covering the team hadn't focused more directly on Clark's well-being following her injury, describing the coverage as insufficient. Discussion continued questioning coaching accountability, arguing team leadership should more visibly support all players rather than appearing selective, with growing calls from segments of the audience to disengage entirely from the league due to its cultural direction. Additional comments highlighted hostility directed at other players, including Marina Mabrey, arguing that selective outrage remains a recurring issue throughout the league's public messaging.
the Fever on will have Caitlin Clark against Asia Wilson. Now, in case you don't realize this, Tom Brady owns, along with Mark Davis, both owners of the Raiders own the Aces, right? So instead of getting the WNBA equivalent of Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning, tonight we get the Ryan Fitzpatrick versus Charlie Whitehurst. Wow. I mean, think of...
Many viewers expressed that White's recent comments have damaged goodwill toward the Fever organization significantly, questioning how a conversation stemming from a player injury shifted so heavily toward defending an opposing player's public image instead. Some argued the entire situation reflects a broader disconnect between league messaging and general audience expectations, framing the coach's comments as alienating exactly the kind of viewership contributing most to recent growth, including audiences from more conservative or religious backgrounds who simply want to watch competitive basketball without additional commentary attached. Caitlin Clark will be sitting out today's matchup, and Aja Wilson is also unavailable for this game.
About that, we're getting Ryan Fitzpatrick versus Tyrod Taylor tonight. I won't be watching that. I'm going to skip it. Now, if it was the NFL, I would watch because I'm a freaking sicko when it comes to watching anything national football. Panthers versus Jags. Sign me up. You can sign me up. Right there. Saints versus Cardinals.
Meanwhile, discussion has been building around the Clark fan base, with a portion of supporters reportedly threatening to step away from following the season altogether. Much of this traces back to the ongoing friction involving head coach Stephanie White, layered on top of Clark's current injury situation and uncertainty about her return timeline. The pattern feels strikingly familiar to what unfolded the previous year.
What time's that start? Fever versus Aces. Wonder what kind of good horror movies are on Amazon right now. I mean, I've been on this horror movie kick all of a sudden. I used to run a horror website. I don't know if people realize that or not. Anyway, woo. Caitlin Clark fans on social media are not missing. The Indiana Fever.
Clark's final appearance of the 2025 season came on July 13th, meaning the current date sits roughly a week and a half out from that same mark. Back then, the issue was a groin problem. This time around, it's being described as a back injury. One line of speculation worth considering: could Clark's future with the Fever organization actually be uncertain?
Injury report dropped, of course. Caitlin Clark, status report for tomorrow's game. That's tonight. Caitlin Clark out, back. Let's just keep it real. Caitlin Clark out, assault. I mean, come on. Fever fans, woo-wee. Got to tell you. Let me rephrase. Caitlin Clark fans, woo-wee. They're out.
Could a trade conversation already be underway behind closed doors? Is it possible Clark has quietly reached a breaking point over how her fouls and physical treatment on the court have gone unaddressed, prompting a repeat of last season's pattern where she simply stopped taking the floor? One marker to watch is the upcoming All-Star game. If she suits up for that, it likely signals she'll finish out the season.
They're out. No Caitlin, no reason to stay. Yeah, my status out until Caitlin Clark returns. Sneaky Pete. Well, fishing is better at this point anyway. No doubt. Do not put her in for the Mercury game. That one to sit her out. Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. That's going to be interesting if that ends up being her first game.
If she sits that one out too, that would be a strong indicator something bigger is happening. This remains speculation, rather than confirmed fact, but it's a theory worth tracking closely. Turning to social media reaction, there's a growing sense that this situation runs deeper than surface-level explanations suggest.
Came back. Then we're going to have to be like, okay, what the hell's going on here, really? Are you really, truly, is there a conspiracy to get her hurt? If you put her back in, I think she's either going to miss all week or she's going to play the first game of that back-to-back and miss the Mercury game. Maybe. I don't think she's going to play both of those games, though. I'm ruled out, too.
It's widely understood that Clark holds some frustration toward how the Fever organization has handled things, even though she's expected to stay diplomatic in public statements. What happens away from cameras remains unknown to outside observers. Nobody outside the organization has real insight into those internal dynamics. The injury report, released ahead of today's road game against the Las Vegas Aces, lists Clark out with the back issue in question.
No CC, not watching the game. I would rather watch paint dry than watching Kelsey Mitchell dribble. All I wanted to do this year was watch Caitlin play basketball. I guess that was too much to ask for. Yeah, that's echoing a lot of fans. Seriously. What you meant to say is Caitlin is out with back issues because Stephanie White and the Fever organization doesn't have her back.
Looking back at the last game Clark actually played, there was direct, in-person observation of what happened. Many claimed afterward that she had simply been benched, but a closer review of the game footage tells a different story. Clark returned late from a break in play, went back to the locker room twice during that outing, and did not return to the court following the second trip.